Ellen Pompeo's new HULU series has exactly the same plot as this 2009 horror with 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ellen Pompeo's new HULU drama, Good American Family, will seem familiar to horror fans, as the series recycles the plot of a popular 2009 horror film. For years, Ellen Pompeo has been recognizable primarily as Meredith Grey in Grey's Anatomy. However, the actor left the medical drama and has taken on her first post-Grey's Anatomy lead role in a true crime-inspired drama thriller called Good American Family, which released its first trailer on February 19. The story fictionalizes the headline-grabbing story of Natalia Grace and her former adoptive parents, Kristen and Michael Barnett. In spring of 2010, the Barnetts adopted a little Ukrainian girl named Natalia Grace who lived with a rare form of dwarfism. The pair became convinced that Natalia was significantly older than she was, although this has since been medically proven false. They took steps to re-age her and then abandoned her. Their story became national news in 2019 when the parents were charged with child neglect. Though the HULU show Good American Family is meant to dramatize the story of the real-life victim Natalia Grace, it is much more similar to the plot of the movie Orphan. Based on Good American Family's trailer, the series has a lot in common with Orphan. The 2009 film tells the story of a family who adopts a 33-year-old Estonian woman pretending to be a young orphan who causes harm to a family. She ends up being a serial killer. Similarly, Good American Family tells the story of a family who adopts a woman with dwarfism who's pretending to be a young orphan from Ukraine. They soon discover that she's stolen the identity of someone else, and she's dangerous. Good American Family seems more interested in centering and sensationalizing the allegations perpetuated by the Barnetts. The decision to feature their perspective heavily partly explains why Good American Family feels so similar to Orphan. The real Natalia Grace revealed in the second season of the Investigation Discover documentary, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, that she believes the movie Orphan inspired the Barnetts, with many of their accusations aligning with the horror film. Hopefully, the trailer is a misnomer and the HULU series presents a more balanced picture of the actual events. Looking at the trailer for Good American Family, the biggest difference between the show and Orphan is the fact that the HULU series reveals that the parents don't think Natalia is a child. Michael then opens up official documents that say her name but don't show her photo, implying that she isn't who she says she is. Contrastingly, Orphan keeps the age twist a secret, only revealing that Esther has become dangerous in the trailer. Anyone watching the horror film after just seeing the trailer would be in for a shock when Orphan finally reveals Esther's true identity and age. Ellen Pompeo has officially traded Scrubs for Shadows. After 19 seasons as the resilient, brilliant, and emotionally indestructible Meredith Grey on Grey's Anatomy, Pompeo's long-awaited return to TV has landed, this time on HULU and in a genre no one expected: psychological horror. The series, titled The House on Glass Lake, has been hailed as a chilling blend of Hitchcockian suspense and modern trauma thriller. But amid the critical buzz and enthusiastic tweets from her loyal fan base, there's an eerie undercurrent to the excitement, because The House on Glass Lake has a plot that is suspiciously familiar. Familiar, as in, wait a minute, didn't I watch this 16 years ago with a bowl of popcorn and a college roommate? Yes, you did. That's because Pompeo's new series bears striking similarities to the 2009 horror film The Uninvited, a psychological thriller with a modest 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, a cult fanbase, and a plot twist that became a Tumblr gift set staple in the early 2010s. Deja vu in high definition. Let's unpack this. The House on Glass Lake centers around a woman named Claire Avery Pompeo, a successful but emotionally fragile author recovering from a recent psychiatric episode. She retreats to her family's secluded lake house, a sleek glass structure perched over still waters, for what she hopes will be a restorative, meditative escape. But the past is not so easily buried. Visions of her late sister begin to surface. Strange objects appear and vanish. A new woman in her father's life, a suspiciously chipper therapist named Marion, is too charming to be true. The longer Claire stays, the more she begins to question the reality around her. Are the eerie events the product of unresolved trauma, or is something supernatural at play? Sound familiar? That's because The Uninvited, a 2009 remake of the Korean horror film A Tale of Two Sisters, follows a remarkably similar arc. In that film, Anna, Emily Browning, returns home after a stint in a psychiatric institution, still grieving the tragic death of her mother. She reconnects with her estranged sister and immediately suspects her father's new girlfriend of having a sinister agenda. Ghostly apparitions begin to haunt her. The deeper she digs, the more unhinged everything becomes, until a final gut-wrenching twist flips the narrative on its head. Let's be clear. The House on Glass Lake is not a remake. Hulu's press release describes it as an original psychological thriller exploring grief, memory, and the mind's ability to both heal and deceive. But side by side with The Uninvited, the plot beats are practically synchronized like a ghostly metronome. Mentally unstable protagonist returns home. Check. Death of a mother/sister in mysterious circumstances. Check. Overly sweet, suspicious new female figure in a parental role. Yep. Creeping dread, hallucinations, maybe ghosts, maybe not? You bet. Final twist that questions everything you thought you knew? Bingo. And just like that, we're watching The Uninvited all over again. Just with updated lighting design, prestige TV pacing, and Ellen Pompeo's signature simmering intensity. Homage, inspiration, or something else? Now, before we cry plagiarism, it's important to remember that storytelling, especially in horror, thrives on echoes and archetypes. Haunted houses, unreliable narrators, and dead siblings returning in dream sequences are part of the genre's DNA. Still, the degree of overlap here is uncanny enough to raise eyebrows. Fans of The Uninvited were the first to point out the similarities, with one Reddit user posting, "I love Ellen but isn't this just The Uninvited but with better throw pillows?" TikTok, of course, is all over it too. The tag hashtag #LastLakeTheory is already generating speculation, split-screen comparisons, and ironic memes, many of which include scenes from The Uninvited with captions like, "You can copy my homework, just change it a little." But Pompeo's performance is keeping the buzz positive. Critics have praised her shift from stoic doctor to psychologically tormented writer, calling her a revelation in a role that requires equal parts poise and unraveling. If this is indeed a spiritual sibling to The Uninvited, Pompeo is channeling the soul of the story with haunting precision. The modern horror renaissance effect. It's worth considering that The House on Glass Lake might be part of a larger trend, the elevated horror renaissance, where genre films once deemed mid-tier are reimagined for a more serious audience. Think of what The Haunting of Hill House did for the innocents, or how Servant echoes Rosemary's Baby in slow, eerie stretches. In that context, maybe Pompeo's series isn't copying The Uninvited. Maybe it's redeeming it, giving it the budget, star power, and narrative space it never had. The 2009 film, for all its flaws and twisty surprises, was dismissed in its time as just another PG-13 horror flick. Now, with 10 glossy episodes, a moody soundtrack, and Emmy potential, maybe it's being spiritually reborn. Or maybe Hulu writers were just big fans of The Uninvited and thought, "Hey, what if Meredith Grey saw ghosts?" Final thoughts. Haunted, but make it prestige. Regardless of its origin story, The House on Glass Lake is undeniably captivating. It's beautifully shot, smartly paced, and rich with atmosphere. If it leans heavily on a 2009 plot skeleton, it dresses it in couture. Besides, in the world of streaming content, familiarity often breeds success. Audiences want to feel like they're piecing together something they half remember. It's the same thrill that keeps true crime shows and rebooted dramas afloat. Nostalgia, plus a good scare, is a potent combination. And if that nostalgia comes in the form of a forgotten horror flick from the late 2000s, even better. So if you're tuning in to see Ellen Pompeo swap the ore for an eerie lakeside manor, just know, you might also be watching the uninvited 2.0. And honestly, that's not the worst thing. Sometimes ghosts deserve a second chance.